Where have I been these past 6 months? It's been a hot minute since we caught up. How are you guys doing? How you been? Y'all good? Okay. So it's currently super early in the morning and I'm getting ready to leave my house. So I figured now would be a good time for us to have a little chit chat and catch up whilst I'm getting ready to leave. So I have to be honest with you guys. I've been fairly wary of how much of my personal life to share publicly, or if that's something that I ever wanted to do at all. On the one hand, the internet is a very wild place, and a lot of people tend to develop an unsettling level of entitlement to know and have their say in how people conduct the personal affairs of their personal lives. And then on the other hand, there's a part of me that just doesn't think anyone actually cares about what I have to say about what's going on in my personal life. So yeah, there's that too. But the truth is, you guys have been a huge part of my hair journey, both professionally and personally. And because of that, there is a certain level of transparency and openness that I always want to have with you guys when I interact with you. With that being said, I wanted to share a bit more about my hair journey with you guys. So how about we just get right into it?
Is that Fops? What happened to her hair? I am not getting no copyright strikes today, so I'm gonna sing over the track and y'all just gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah, no. As much as we all love a good picture montage of 6 years worth of hair growth, that is not what this is. That's not what we're about to be doing. No, ma'am. When I say my hair journey, what I'm referring to is my journey along this career path, this particular career path to do with hair, and the things that I've struggled with along the way, the lessons that I've learnt, and how that has led me to the exciting new developments that I will be sharing with you guys later on in this video. So historically, when people have asked me about how I got into what I'm doing now, I have often deferred to the small talk / dinner party friendly answer by saying something along the lines of, I mean, I didn't know that I intentionally chose to do this or intentionally planned this, but given my interest in beauty and my disposition to science, I'm not surprised that I ended up here. Yeah. But the more I think about it, the more I question how accurate that statement actually is. Over the past several months, I've had the privilege of speaking to a number of you guys who have reached out to me because for one reason or the other, you're interested in or you're toying with the idea of, a career change in hair or furthering your career in hair. And it's often in those conversations that I'm reminded of how much bandwidth it has required for me to walk this path and remain on it. I'm talking mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of the leads. Many of you know me from this little growing YouTube channel that we have going on here, or maybe some other event or publication that you've seen me feature in. But what still feels like very, very recent memory for me is a time when I felt completely lost, extremely afraid, and very, very confused about what I was doing with my life. This season lasted up until late 2019, so it really wasn't that long ago. Now, thinking back to early 2018 when I'd started practicing as a trichologist, here I was after almost 2 years of formal education in this particular discipline of hair science, 7 years of informal learning, to now being entirely unsure about how or even if this was something that I wanted to do. And even though I told myself that I was getting my certification in trichology because I'd always genuinely wanted to be able to better help people who had hair struggles, I still found myself not feeling qualified enough thereafter. Now, granted, there were a few areas where I felt like I did have gaps in my knowledge. Heck, I still feel like there are areas where I still have gaps in my knowledge, and I probably will always feel that way. But I also quickly realized that I was hiding behind constant further education because I believed that A, I wasn't enough, B, that I just simply didn't have enough to start anything that would actually genuinely help people, and C, who really cares about what I have to say? And God forbid I fail. So even after that qualification, I would channel a lot of time and energy into furthering my education in the space, but at the same time intentionally limit the amount of advertising I would do or putting myself out there, simply because I felt like if I could clip my wings and not reach out to as many people as possible, then the less likely it was that I would eventually run into a client or a patient who had hair struggles that I simply just couldn't help with or just didn't have the answers to. Now, for somebody who has struggled with imposter syndrome, that was literally my worst nightmare. Because best case scenario, the person would feel disappointed and feel like, they'd wasted their money. But then worst case scenario, the person would go away thinking that I was a sham and that I didn't actually really know what I was talking about, which were feelings that I was already battling within myself internally. Never feeling like I could ever know enough to help anyone. At the same time of having this fear of failure that a lot of us tend to struggle with, I'm also a very goal-oriented person. And so what that ended up looking like was me constantly pursuing further education. And in a weird way, I think I was doing this as a way to continue to do a lot and achieve a lot without actually ever fully taking the important steps towards implementing that knowledge and actually putting it to good use. The crazy thing is, not trying only made me more miserable because now I wasn't practically living out all of those things that I'd constantly been saying to myself were important to me internally. It's the cognitive dissonance for me. It ended up taking me hitting quite a few walls and getting frustrated enough to the point where I decided that I was going to have to start showing up for myself. And so I think a significant part of what I want to talk about for the rest of this video are some of the truths and some of the tools that really help to guide me and continue to help to guide me and encourage me in getting over these hurdles, whether I've gotten over them once and for all or whether they're things that still crop up every now and again. So one of the big lessons that I learned is that education is key. But education is key only if you're using it to actually open doors. Can I get an amen, somebody? At every single stage in my journey, one of the things that has really helped me is going out in search for any tools, any knowledge, any advice that could help me best navigate whatever season it is that I'm in and whatever struggles that season comes with. And right now, one of the biggest struggles that I'm facing is finding the best way to get back on YouTube more consistently, especially in the light of the new career changes that I've been experiencing. But one of the things that really helped me was a Skillshare course that I took on productivity. I believe it was by Thomas Frank. And the full name of the course is Productivity for Creatives, Building a System that Brings Out Your Best. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Skillshare, Skillshare is basically an online learning community that has a wide range of different classes covering a range of different topics, fields of interest, and also different levels for learning. So whether you're trying to sharpen existing skills or pick up a new one, out of the thousands that they offer, Skillshare will undoubtedly have a course that you can take. Now, historically, I have been quite a YouTube education buff, but the annoying thing with YouTube is that you get all these ads that interrupt and it kills the vibe. You get what I mean? It kills the vibe. But thankfully, that isn't something that you'd have to worry about with Skillshare. So Skillshare have been so kind as to offer the first 1,000 people who click on the link in my description box a free trial for 1 month. So please do go ahead and check that out, especially this particular course. If you're a content creator or you're just looking to find ways to be more productive with your work, whatever that might be, I would highly recommend this. Look, help me help you, okay? We're trying to be better out here, okay? Bottom line, shout out to Skillshare and Thomas Frank for helping your girl rise out of the YouTube ashes like a phoenix. And of course, also thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Anyway, lest I digress too much, one of the key takeaway points that really helped me from this course was the concept of activation energy. Now, this concept basically says that if you're trying to develop a new habit or something that you're trying to do more consistently, try and minimize the amount of activation energy and or time that goes into getting it done. The whole idea being that the less time it takes to get it done, the more likely it is that you're going to do it and stick to it. Now, apparently the sweet spot is 20 seconds. Now, I don't know about no 20 seconds, child, but I do know that one of the biggest roadblocks that I had in getting back onto YouTube was the amount of setup time that it takes me to start filming a video and then the amount of editing that goes into the video post-production. You guys, on any given video, especially with the kind of videos that I do, I would say it probably takes me about a total of 24 full hours, not an 8-hour working period in 24 hours, no, 24 full hours just to produce one video. And it got to the point that I just couldn't do it anymore. Literally at this point, I would rather be caught like a rat on the highway.
When you catch me like a rat on the highway,
than have to do that whole shebang again. So in addition to outsourcing my video editing, one of the things that I also did was go out and pick up a video monitor so that I could see myself much easier and not have to, do all these gymnastics just to see myself, because like the clever clogs that I am, I got an incredible camera that doesn't have a flip up screen. And so now, having done all of that, I can probably say that I've safely saved myself upwards of 12 hours. And now that 12 hours can now be better spent being able to put that into something else that's more productive and that's going to be a much better use of my time. Now, another thing that I wish I had believed sooner was that I genuinely had everything that I needed to start. The saying goes, you don't have to be an expert to start, but you have to start to be an expert. I think for me and a lot of people, it's very easy to think that the things that you know that are obvious to you are also obvious to everyone else, especially when these things are things that you've known for a really long time. So much so that you forget that there was a time when you didn't know this stuff and you went out in search of this information, hoping that someone somewhere would have put it out there. So with that said, if what you're looking for is a sign to just start, this is that sign. Because the truth of the matter is, if you're waiting till you know everything to start, you're never gonna start, because no one ever has and nobody ever will. Now for this next one, I'm definitely preaching to the choir. Heck, I am the choir, I'm the preacher, I'm the whole congregation. I am single-handedly holding up this church. So as Christians, there's this thing that we do where we almost kind of mask fear with this desire to be led by God. Now, being led by God is not a problem at all. However, oftentimes we can hide behind this as a way to mask the fact that we're just too afraid to move. And I remember God reminding me of Proverbs 3:5-6. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. Very, very popular scripture. But the conversation between us centered around the fact that God's direction is useless if I refuse to move. And I think the bottom line of this point for me was learning to understand that no matter how much you steer a ship, if it's not moving, it's still not going anywhere. Oh dear, looks like I've forgotten to put on some sunscreen. Yes, I know I live in London. Yes, I know we get 3 days of sun a year, but aging is real. UVA, UVB, all of the above. Also, can I just quickly plug this product? I know it's not available outside of the UK, but if you're watching this video from the UK, this product is the Solar Defense SPF 50. It's actually by a Black-owned skincare company. I'm not sure if they just do skincare. I'm pretty sure they do like aesthetics and other stuff, but their products are mainly skincare products. And believe it or not, you guys, this is a mineral sunscreen. By mineral, I mean it's supposed to be giving Casper and giving white cast, but is giving me glow. It's giving me dewy. It's giving me rich skin. Guys, look at this. Ugh. Okay, so where was I? This last point is a big one. This was one that I had to learn the hard way, and I think it probably would have been great if somebody had given me the heads up. And that is the fact that passion is not enough. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me? Can you hear me in the back? Right. The thing about passion is that I find it to be this transient feeling that just somehow seems to lay dormant outside of the occasional highly stimulating dinner conversation. Now, you guys all remember that I was saying there was a period of time where I wasn't sure whether something that I'd been so invested in for so many years was something that I wanted to continue doing. Somehow, I don't know if that feeling is something that will ever go away. I think it's a question that many people at different points of their careers, of course, it's not something I'm waking up and asking myself every day. If you're waking up and asking yourself that question every day about what you're doing, then you probably need to give this whole situation a rethink. But I do think that it's very normal for people to every now and again question whether they can do what they're doing, especially if you are growing in what you're doing and you're challenging yourself and you're stretching. It's very normal to ask that question. And this is why it's so important when you're getting ready to commit to something in whatever field or whatever capacity that might be, that you have a why and that your why is compelling enough for you. And the reason why I feel like it's so important to make sure that your why is compelling enough for you and not a why that is based on what you think other people want for you or what other people have explicitly told you they want for you is because oftentimes those people who enforced their opinions on you or pushed you to a decision that wasn't entirely yours will not necessarily be there when things get hard, and they will get hard very often. And so having a compelling why, and, you know, maybe even having it written down somewhere that you can go back to and that you can remind yourself about why you're doing the things that you're doing, is a significant part of what will keep you going when passion is taking a nap. Notice I said this is a significant part of what will keep you going when passion fails, and that's because it is only a significant part. It is not the entirety of what will keep you going when passion is absent without leave. After the why comes the intentionality, the focus, the planning, and most importantly of all, the discipline. I'm triggered. I'm actually triggered. Yeah. Most things these days seem to be done solely based on how you feel. And I'm shading really no one but myself. Outside of things that have external pressures attached to them, we usually just tend to do things when we feel like it. And if we don't feel like it, we don't do it. To the point that discipline today seems more like a taboo for most people, or better yet, a dirty word that nobody wants to talk about. But we're going to talk about it because without discipline, it's entirely impossible to build and or sustain any good thing. Anything that you think is worth doing requires discipline. In the moments when you're tired, in the moments when things aren't making sense, in the moments where you feel like you made a mistake because of how hard it is and how long it's been hard for, outside of the grace of God, child, discipline is one of the key things that will keep you going. Discipline and integrity. And I say integrity not just in sense of doing what you say you're going to do that you've communicated to other people, but integrity with yourself. If you can't have, oh Jesus, this whole video is a note to self. If it helps you, great. But really, this whole video is a note to self. If you only have integrity about the things that you tell other people that you're going to do, but you don't do the things that you determine within yourself to do, I don't really know that you can call that integrity. Perhaps you could call it accountability. And to be fair, a lot of times I think that helps if that's something that you're struggling with, to have somebody that you can be accountable to have somebody that's going to put those external pressures on you to make sure that you're doing what you say you're going to do. And eventually you grow that into integrity to the point that regardless of whether you tell a soul that you're going to do something, the sheer fact that you have decided within yourself that you are going to do something should mean that it's as good as done. And for anybody who's watching this video who, much like myself, has struggled and occasionally still struggles with the fear of failure, I do want to share this one last thing. Failure is not the opposite of success. I think a lot of times many of us feel like if you're failing at something, you're going in the opposite direction to success. And that's not the case. I think once I learnt that failure was the road to success and every single failure was a stepping stone to success, it changed the game for me. It also means that you're now a lot more likely to take risks because the quicker you fail, the more you fail, the closer you are getting to success. I guess you can say that your propensity to success does in a big way depend on how much you are willing to fail and how quickly you are willing to fail. So fast forward to recent history, I did mention that I wanted to share with you guys some of the things that I've been up to over the past 6 months that will explain my lack of consistency around posting on YouTube or any other social media platforms up until this point. So one of the results of me putting myself out there was opening myself up to what seemed to be an infinite realm of opportunities. There are a number of people that I was able to work with, a number of businesses that I was able to consult with that I don't know that I otherwise would have been able to if I hadn't put myself out there. Now, one of these businesses was a startup within the hair care space, but specifically for women of color by a woman of color. And they'd reached out to me towards the end of last year in preparation for their launch. Now, they are a UK-based company. And some of you might already have heard of them or see me repost stuff about them on my story. But the name of the company and the brand is Ruka Hair. I started working with this company as a consultant on an ad hoc basis. And it didn't take very long for me to fall in love with the brand, with the vision, the people. And long story short, I ended up joining the team and working to build build this vision out full time. Making that transition was something that was quite difficult for me because I was spearing on full throttle in the plans that I had for my career, and it took me a little bit of time to try and readjust and to see my work with this brand as part of my long-term plan. And I think it's important to have a plan. I think it's important to know where you want to go, but I do also think it's important to be flexible about how you get there. And after hearing the vision of what we were building towards, it was seamless. In terms of personal values, there was a perfect alignment. In terms of my professional values and goals, there was a perfect alignment. Many of you know that innovation is something that is huge for me. Heck, it's something that I have a degree in, and I've continued to find ways that I can do that in this space. However, with limited resources, there's only so much innovation that you can do. And so joining this team in a research and development capacity has meant that I'm now in a position where I get to explore to a very large extent my creativity and the things that I've dreamt about innovating in this space, but just haven't previously had the resources to do. And now not only do I have the space and the environment to do that in, but I also get to do that alongside a team of incredibly intelligent Black women. Yeah, it's a dream, and it's something that I'm extremely excited for. And I think since I started working in a research and development capacity, I think I've loved it so much that I just decided to intentionally make a shift to focus more of my efforts on learning, research, development, and innovation. And for that reason, I have made the decision to put consulting on ice for the time being. So I won't be doing one-on-one consultations anymore, and I won't be doing treatments. And so in this next season of my career, the main thing that I'm going to be focusing on is innovating, not just within my role at Rooker, but also thinking of ways that I can create things, tools for you guys that will help you along your hair journeys, help you understand things better, and just make that whole process easier and more enjoyable for you guys. And a lot of these things will be things that will supplement the videos that I hope to be putting out a lot more consistently. Many of you will already know that as part of the work that I've done in the industry, I have had the opportunity to work alongside some really incredible cosmetic chemists. And even though the discipline of trichology is a hair science, it is not the entirety of hair science. Within hair science, there are a few different disciplines. You have trichology that is more so paramedical and to do with the biology of hair and scalp conditions. Then you have other disciplines like chemistry and the study of how certain ingredients will interact with the hair. A lot of that latter aspect has more to do with chemistry and cosmetic chemistry than it does to do with trichology. And so I made the decision to make it official and get my diploma in cosmetic chemistry as well. And so as far as my learning is concerned, I think that's pretty much solely where my attention is going to be for the next 12 more months, I believe. I could have just said a year. What is wrong with me? Is it a baby? Anyway, something that you guys may or may not know is the fact that as much as I love hair, your girl loves hair. We love hair on this channel. Hair is not the only interest that I have. My love for hair did stem from an overarching interest in cosmetic science. And so the hope is that getting my diploma in cosmetic chemistry will open me up to be able to explore other areas of cosmetic science. So, you know, skincare, personal care, and the likes of that. So I am very excited. It is all very exciting. And to be able to bring you guys fresh new insights as well. So stay tuned, guys. We continue to grow. We continue to learn. Okay? Yeah, so obviously with all of that, it has been quite the challenge trying to juggle everything. So that's why I decided to make those little decisions that going forward would mean that what I'm spending my time doing best represents the things that I value, and that I'm doing them in such a way that it's time efficient and without draining me out. Now, you guys, I know this whole personal essay / letter to my future self, past self, and present self is personal to my career. I do know that. However, I've had this conversation enough times with enough people to know that my experiences and my struggles are not unique to me. Neither are they unique to the field of cosmetic science or hair care. Truthfully speaking, a lot of the advice, tools, and lessons that I've learnt along this journey that I'm still learning and trying my best to implement have been from people, books, and courses that have absolutely nothing to do with the field that I'm in. Certain principles just apply universally. So I want to believe that a lot of you watching this video will be able to relate to at least one of the things that I've mentioned, but I also do hope that watching this video would have helped you feel gingered to try. And if you've tried before, gingered to try again. And if you've tried many times before, gingered to try again one more time. So if anything, I guess the only thing left for me to say is get to failing, guys. And I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye.